Namaste, everybody. It's another Sunday. We're happy to, get on to this new episode, 184th episode of Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga. We're going to talk about the trapeze artist Adani. And we're going to talk some facts about his companies. As usual, we have Dr. Swamy and I have Sree Iyer, and later on Dr. Arvind Chaturvedi will also join us. So the Adani issue has broken in the past 4 days. It has created a furor. The Hindenburg report, that's what everybody is talking about in India, pretty much in across the globe in the investment world. And what is surprising is with such a big chaos or for that kind of a earth-shattering report that has come out, there's very little reaction from the government. It's kind of surprising, but is it worth required? That's exactly what we're going to discuss today. So without much delay, I'm just going to bring Dr. Swamy on first so that he can start off. That's our format. And then Sree and I, we have some data to share and we have some presentation. A couple of slide decks. We're going to put the facts on the table and then we'll open it up for discussions. I do see a lot of comments. People want to know what this scam is all about. You really cannot call it a scam yet but we have to start looking into it. And so without much delay, Dr. Swamy, please, the floor is yours now.
Yes. Well, thank you very much. My job is to just give an introduction. And I have been talking about Adani for quite some time. Adani, by the way, is a BJP phenomenon only recently. Earlier on, he was quite thick with the Congress. And now, of course, he has got his roots well deeply dug into the BJP. And all the BJP people who wield power in the party are his friends. And he has gone shooting up. And I just found that in the last 3 years, he has gone in a huge jump his stock price of the 7 Adani listed companies spiked an average of 819%. And that's the kind of monumental, believe it or not, one of these records which I think very few people can cross. I originally called him a trapeze artist because the trapeze artist in a circus, he'll come down and then he'll turn around and go this way and so on. So, Adani can, is very flexible. He will be one day in gas, and the other day he will be in aeroplanes, and the fourth day will be in ships, and so on. So a versatile man, but as long as you are within the law, we admire versatile people. But someone who destroys the system, who makes accountability zero, we can't have a high opinion of such people. And today, what's happened, which is what we are going to discuss, and we have got two great experts who deal with this subject, Ramesh and Sree Iyer. They have a track record of exposing many things. So I really look forward to hearing them. But I'd just like to say one thing, that Adani has used every Samadama Bedadand, as they used to say in Sanskrit. He took over the Bombay airport just by telling the Prime Minister's office that send the ED, send the CBI, send this, send that. And that poor man who was owning the Bombay airport, he just collapsed and he signed on the dotted line. Same thing with GMR. He signed on the dotted line. The same thing with NDTV. It's like that. He's been buying up. He's now in practically every field there is. So but he is also a great influencer in politics, and that worries me a lot. And his connections with the Chinese also extremely, very long term. I think he owes the Chinese about $8 billion, if I'm not wrong. And this foreign elements with whom he's leveraging is bad for a country which is talked about Atmanirbharta, and it's just an undoing of that Atmanirbharta. So, what I would like both these experts, Ramesh and Sree Iyer, is to explain what has happened. You see, there are two big blows have come. They are not connected, but they're part of the multidimensional focus that is now internationally against Modi and his tenure and his handling of the government. And therefore, the first was the BBC, and the BBC, you saw the reaction was totally unnecessary because it's just a private, publicly owned private company, and it's not the government. And we went, and after banning it, and so that nobody saw what was being broadcast, the string of abuses from all sections came orchestrated. Now we have something different. The closest friend of Narendra Modi and the Amit Shah is now in a cloud. Now, whether this company, the facts that have come out, will sustain in a court, and if Adani will indeed file a case, which in my opinion I would not advise him to, because it will be on the anti-suit injunction principle of of our laws, of an international laws. It will get transferred to America because the company which made the allegation was in America, and it would I think the American courts will hold that it can't be tried. The defamatory items that they were brought out by that company cannot be tried in India because it was released in the United States, even if it has traveled to India. So that law is called anti-suit injunctions, and it's widely used in business companies fighting. So Mr. Adani will have to go to America, and that is a ground which will be hostile to him. So, and if he doesn't, then of course his reputation is dashed. That all that was said was true, and therefore he was not in a position to do anything about it. So we want. I would like first to hear the technical side of the whole matter from Mr. Ramesh and Mr. I should call them now Herr Professor Ramesh and Herr Professor Sree Iyer. Both of them become scholars of the first order. So may I take the liberty to hand it over to Ramesh or Sree Iyer, depending on who wants to come first, and tell us what is this all about, and we are less concerned about what will happen to Adani, but we are more concerned to understand what has happened to him.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Ramesh, why don't you go first? Because yours is a 20,000 foot level thing.
Okay, I'll do that. So I'm just going to start off with just a slide. Guys who are using a phone, I'm sorry, we just can't do much. Bear with us. We'll try to see if we can share this on our Twitter feed. But for now, Dr. Swamy, if you look at the Adani's whole conglomerate, of the companies, the main companies, a lot of the money, if you look at the main holding companies, you can see that APM's investment fund is about 2.3 billion, Cresta, LTS. One very interesting company out there is Elara India. And guess who is the guy behind it? Ketan Parekh. And we all know. So we all know what happened with Ketan Parekh. Oh, he was in jail. He got out. Now he's living off in UK, and the very famously, Arun Jaitley kind of defended him. So these companies have invested some money into the Adani groups. But the very interesting fact about Adani money that is coming in is all coming through, routed through one single or maybe a few people within his family only. And the biggest guy who's investing is Vinod Adani. I think Sree is going to talk about Vinod in a while, but a biggest chunk is coming through small companies that were started very early. I mean, just brand new companies that had doesn't even have a website, doesn't have anything, not even a physical address, just a PO box address in Mauritius, investing billions of dollars into the Adani companies. Uh, the surprising fact is that all this is quote unquote legal, thanks to you have been fighting this participatory note scheme, the way the Mauritius route has to be shut down because it is not clean money, it is round tripping of black money. We all know that for a fact, but unfortunately round tripping black money is legal in India through the PN route and through the Mauritius route, and that's exactly what has happened here. Billions of dollars are flowing in into the Adani companies. Very limited exposure to the private people because the retail investor is very small. And one of the largest other big investors, she is going to talk about that again because LIC, they invested about 7,000 crores into this. At the end of the day, what I'm just going to slip and go to the next slide. If you look at the exposure, basically the bank debt exposure. So how did Adani, he built up in 3 years, Dr. Swamy, his valuation has gone up by $100 billion plus. How? He just inflated his stock value, saying that he's going to do the next testing to the sliced bread. The stock prices have gone through the roof, as you said, 890%. 890%. I mean, it's unheard of valuation that has jumped. And at that cost, based on that valuation, he's borrowed money to the tune of 2 lakh 12,000 crores, bigger than the 2G scam. I mean, we all think that 1,76,000 crores was big. Adani said that's too small. It's copy change for me. I'm going to borrow 2,11,000 crores, and that's where he stands today in terms of the debt. I mean, is this? And the interesting fact about this debt is 5 of his 7 companies are below the ratio of 1. So it is a big risk. Technically, these banks need to be careful because the exposure is out there. But they're going to say, oh, well, as long as he's paying the interest, why do I bother? But that is a problem, Dr. Swamy, because at the end of the day, if he goes down, a lot of things are going to go haywire because it is just not Adani. It's just not the debt. It's going to pull down the whole country, the whole economy. And the prime minister and the finance minister shockingly have not said anything because this is not just about Adani. And they're trying to limit this to only about Adani. He will come back and long term, what is the impact? As you said, the first part is how is the money flowing in? There's absolutely no transparency in how the money comes in, but it's legal. SEBI is just going to sit there and say we are investigating. Mahua Moitra, I think she raised this question in the parliament. All they could just come back, and all that SEBI could come back and say we are still investigating. So they're investigating from May of last year, or I think March of last year, and they're still not come out with what their issue is. They could always come back and say, oh, as far as we are concerned, on paper this is legal, but we all know it is illegal because where is the source of the money? SEBI doesn't have to ask that question, but the government has the duty to ask what's the source of funds, where is this money round tripping from. It's very key. So that's one of the important pieces because look at the debt that he has accumulated. Dr. Swamy, you mentioned that Adani has jumped into multiple companies. And a lot of these companies are shockingly that he has zero expertise or experience doing it. A brilliant guy. I mean, for all you know, I mean, muscle, samadhana, beda danda, as you said, he's able to jig up these companies, start the company today. He won the contract to service fighter jets, Dr. Swamy, in one day. How? He started a company day one, next day he won the contract. He goes to France, talks to Macron, gets the contract. I mean, it's this unbelievable, quote unquote, entrepreneurship shown by Adani. I mean, kudos to him. It is amazing to see how a person who can start an enterprise. I mean, guys like me and Sree, we've started companies, we're running them. It's not easy to be in the technology business or anything like that. It takes some time to go and establish yourself. But this guy has got a very unique ability that You start a company and today, tomorrow, he wins a multi-billion-dollar contract. God forbid. We really don't know what the magic is. I wish we know this magic so we could also do this in our lives. But Adani Enterprises, if you look at the kind of companies that they got in shipping, he has been handed over on paper. Just say, here you sign up, take this port, take the airport, seaport, whatnot. Maybe spaceport tomorrow. I mean, ISRO's port in Sriharikota might be gone to Adani tomorrow. We don't know that yet because it is amazing the pace at which he's acquiring these kind of contracts. As you said, the GMR was kicked out from Bombay and it's been taken over by Adani. Mind-boggling stuff. This guy has shown his entrepreneurship. I'm just being sarcastic here, but again, given all of this, he's saying that all of this is my asset, and he's raised the valuation for these companies so high that he's able to borrow with impunity, and the banks are just lending. Very important fact, Dr. Swamy, none of the foreign institutions are lending him money. They want to stay away from this guy. So far, very few reinvestments have come in, but if you look at very large investors, they've not touched it yet because after the Hindenburg report, his FPO is at serious risk because, as they say today, day one, nowhere close to the numbers that he was expecting. So it has created a huge dent in Adani's ambitions to raise money in the market. Quickly jumping, the biggest red flags. As I said, 5 of the 7 listed entities current ratio below 1. What does this mean? So basically, the debt and
what do you mean by current ratio? Debt.
Correct.
Debt
The ability
divided.
of, correct. Yes, Dr. Swamy, it's assets over liabilities. Basically, the ability to pay the current short-term liabilities, debts and payables, when it's current. So if there is a call on it, because his assets backing is only half of what he has promised. So it's a ratio of 1 means, okay, it's a 1-to-1 match. If it fails, okay, I can sell everything and get the 1 rupee back. I mean, if he's buying. But if it's half, you're going to only 50% back. In some companies, it's 0.3. So it is at a risk. Because the current ratio, if less than 1, does not have a capital in hand to meet the short-term obligations. So,
Yes.
and that's one. Sky-high valuations, I talked about that. The key listed Adani companies has also taken substantial debt, including pledging their inflated shares as collateral into the banks. So what happens to that? Now, $42 billion was wiped out in a day. So basically, he's borrowed that much kind of money from the bank. So they have to kind of justify, but they will not, because obviously they cannot go and justify, because if they flag this as a report, they have to put that in their balance sheet. I don't think any bank is going to risk doing that. Suspected stock parking of entities accounted for is almost 30 to 47% of the volume. So this is also, again, lack of SEBI is, oversight. They're really not doing what they're supposed to do. Or even the other authorities in India, they're absolutely sleeping over this, because 4 days, somebody should have said something, nothing's happening. The most important fact, Dr. Swamy, from 2014 to date, Adani Group has started 270 companies. 125 of them are based in UK. This is exclusive VHS research, thanks to Swaminathan from VHS. He's done an excellent piece of research on this. 270 companies have been started from 2014. Amazing pace at which these companies have been started. Out of the largest was around 170 is in Gujarat, 120, 155, 160 in Gujarat, 125 in London, rest all over the place. I'll just quickly share that slide because it'll be, I don't know if how many people can really see this. You can always see this. Specifically Australia, Sree has got an interesting story, so he's going to talk about that. So if you look at this London, he's picked up the pace from 2016, Dr. Swamy, 2015, he started 11 companies. After that, he's on a clip, and he's made 125 companies in London. It's all got the same address. Go figure what that means. Nobody knows what that address is. So these are the kind of things, it is on paper allowed in India, which is amazing. I still cannot believe that you can just start bogus companies like this, shell companies like this. That's exactly what the Hindenburg report says. It's not as the Hindenburg report says that Adani and groups have hidden or kind of made the fund flow through shell companies. Nobody knows who that company is, and auditors have been sleeping. I think the Adani Group has issued a point-by-point reply, but I don't think that's flying, because if that report, if Adani's response was accepted, the market could have, what we're seeing, we would see that tomorrow. Once the market opens tomorrow, we're going to see what's going to happen to the Adani stock. That's it's gonna have a severe impact. In my view, it has not made a change. He's still trying to do damage control, um, which by far, because this is blown out global, and you could see everybody. And one of the biggest quote unquote Wall Street bull, he has said that the Hindenburg report is very credible. So I just wanted to, and I think you retweeted that too. And
Yes.
with this, Sree, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hand this over to you, because it's a kind of a good segue from here, because I think what you're going to talk about would just work from here. So I'm just going to close down, guys. I just wanted to present what are the facts. It's not I'm not making any assumptions. I'm not making any conclusions. As I said, what is the government doing or going to do is very crucial, not just for Adani and his company. It's for the future, because the government or the Modi wants to do a $5 trillion economy. Well, that's a different calculation altogether. But you can't do a $5 trillion if you have these kind of bogus things that happen and these kind of blow up in the face of India. There's a lot of good entrepreneurs out there, Dr. Swamy. You really want to start, they will get hurt, because the credibility per se, as you said, the credibility of not only Adani, across the globe, this credibility of people wanting to invest in India. Oh my God, I don't want to invest in another guy who's building a union economy. Might be a shell company, can't be bogus. Last but not the least, Sree, I just want to say this. I am amazed by the IT cell dumbos who are saying if Adani fails, Modi fails. It's ridiculous. Why are you implicating the prime minister into this? He's got nothing to do with this. You are saying,
Is
oh,
it BJP IT cell.
yeah, the group,
You said IT cell, but yeah,
not
BJP.
IT cell, the group with BJP, whatever we call the IT celliers, they are saying, I'm going to buy so many shares. And some of them have apparently bought shares of Adani on Saturday. I mean, they're brilliant people. I really wish I could know how they bought shares on a Saturday when the stock market is closed. People bought 5,000 shares of Adani, and also it is amazing that we can, we have such quote unquote brilliant people in India. But why are you saying putting up the show? It's BJP or the party should not defend what's happening in this report. It's up to Adani and his group to defend it. The party and its supporters should stay away, because this is really quote unquote stupid to bring in the PM or anybody else. The job of the prime minister and the finance minister is to do what the government has to say. You can't say, oh, Adani failure means a Modi failure. That's kind of really stupid, pushing it. So Sree, I'm just going to hand it over to you from this point.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Ramesh. And viewers, I recently got a patent, and I was tom-tomming that I got a new patent in fintech space and so on and so forth. In my recent trip to India, I was talking about my patent to a friend of mine, and he looked at it. He said, I kind of understand what you're trying to do, but who do you think is going to be your customer? And I said, the Indian government. And he started laughing. I bet you he's still laughing even today, because that is how hard it is to get the government to engage an entrepreneur, a new idea. And yet we see Mr. Adani, able to close deals within a matter of hours and get
Sree,
money so
Sree, you've
easily.
been working on a project for 5 years. I know how much trials you went through to get funding for that. It's not easy.
It's not easy at all. So let me show you the compilation that I made, and thanks to Swaminathan for all the help he gave. So we are going to share some more numbers. I'm going to drill down on a few projects that the Adani group has taken up. So can we have the slideshow, please? Gautam Adani, a look at his past. He was kidnapped and freed in 1998. When he was freed, I don't know, but perhaps it was just within a few days. He and another person called Shantilal Patel were abducted at gunpoint in 1998. The ransom was 1.5 million US dollars. He was allegedly abducted by underworld don Fazlur Rahman and Bhogilal Darji alias Mama. One of them was a rival of Dawood Ibrahim. The other one was working for Dawood Ibrahim. So this was like something like perhaps a combined operation to kidnap Gautam Adani. Interestingly, 8 men who were accused were let go in 2018 because the court concluded that they had no evidence. Never mind, this guy spent days probably, fearful for his life. And in 2018, our courts ruled that, we don't have any evidence, so he can go free. interestingly, on 26/11, Adani was at the Taj Hotel having dinner and he miraculously escaped. Now let's take a look at his elder brother, Vinod Shantilal Adani. By the way, today he's either number 6 or number 8 among the richest people in India, number 1 being Gautam Adani. And where did he make his money? Well, this person has always had the DRI and the ED on his back from the Congress days. So I'm just going to share you some information. And one of the stories that has not been talked about much in the Indian media, because it is not something that perhaps Adani wants to get exposed, is his foray into trying to mine for coal in Australia. Now, the Directorate of Revenue Intelligence compiled in 2014 a complex money trail going from India through South Korea and Dubai and eventually to an offshore company in Mauritius, all controlled allegedly by Vinod Adani, the older brother. And Vinod Adani is the director of 4 companies proposing to build a railway line, and I'm going to come to that in just 1 second, and expand a coal port attached to Queensland's vast Carmichael mine project. And here is where it looks like. See, this is Queensland, which is north of northern Australia. In United States, we have the wild, wild west. In Australia, we have the wild, wild north. And this place is not very well developed. And the idea was that a railway line will be laid from Point Abbott, which is the port, to wherever the Carmichael mine was. And Adani was expecting the Northern Australia Investment Facility to provide the Australia approximately $1 billion loan to fund the railway line. This went on for a few years. In February 2018, the NAIF said no. While all this was going on, there were lots of protests. See, understand that this area was populated primarily by the Australian Aborigines, and they were not very happy at the ecological destruction. You can say, okay, the Vokes got into the act, whatever. I'm just stating the facts here. This is a huge investment that has come unstuck, and we don't even know where this is going to be absorbed in the Adani groups. Now let's take a look at some details on the LIC loans to Adani. LIC invested close to 7,000 to 8,000 crores. This was way back, I think, in the 2008 or 2009. And because, during the last few years, there was a tremendous rise, like Dr. Swamy said, 800% plus, the investment of LIC went up to 76,000 crores. Nice money for the company. Well, now, because of the 20% correction, it has come down to 50,000 crores, which is still 600% return or 500% return for the LIC as a company. However, the problem is this how companies are going to get funded? Isn't LIC responsible for making sure that the money that they get by way of premiums is used more wisely? By the way, this is not something that is new. Other people, previous governments have done the same thing. And if you look at current investments of LIC, and Ramesh showed a little bit of this, these are the exposures you have. Adani Enterprises 4.23%, Adani Ports 9.14%, Adani Transmissions 3.65%, Adani Green 1.28%, and Adani Total Gas 5.96%. Now comes the interesting part, and I want to quote you what happened, and if you want the reference links, it's all provided in the video description section. So don't tell me that, look, you are trying to make something up. Anytime people, come across something that they are not expecting, immediately they say, this is a conspiracy theory. Swamy is a conspiracy theorist. Sree is a conspiracy theorist. VHS is a conspiracy theorist. Here is what happened. Sri Lankan Energy Minister Ferdinando said that the Prime Minister Modi pressurized Sri Lankan government to give the contract to Adani, and then he retracted the statement saying that it was an emotional outburst. Okay, so there is arm twisting going on. So this is the first time that I could see a connect between the Modi government and Adani, that Modi was in fact, trying to influence some government, saying that if you want a loan, then it has to be sent to this person. What happened to bidding? What happened to the merit of the proposal? So this is where the problem comes. You are destroying the system This is where I have a problem with the Modi government. Many such things. Dr. Swamy, I can go on and on, but this just kind of gives a snapshot of a few investments for which we have done some research. And thank you, Swaminathan, for giving in all the data. Now, the exposure, as far as the exposure for Indian companies is concerned, I am told it is 40% of the investment of Indian investments in, companies like LIC and so on and so forth. Again, this is government. LIC is a public sector undertaking. Who knows if SBI has an exposure or what? The point I think I'm trying to make is 60% is abroad. And if Hindenburg Research had invested and then they shorted, I have no way of knowing what is their investment and if they shorted before they came out with the release. These are things that others have to investigate. However, it is important to understand that this is not the way to be funding enterprises. This is what my problem is. I have tried, like Ramesh said, for 5 years trying to get another fintech idea off the ground, and I got nowhere. After some time, I just had to give up, saying that, well, this is not going to work out. I'm going to go and write some books. That's what I'm doing ever since then. So, Dr. Swamy, if you have...
Sree, very simple. Just change your last name to Adani. You're good.
No. Maybe A, starting with A and ending with I.
Yeah, well.
So, Dr. Swamy, we have explained what we have done so far. So we are just waiting for your comments.
No, let's hear Arvind also.
Oh, okay, Arvindji, you are muted, sir.
I have many questions.
He's from management science. He's a professor of management science. So
Arvindji, आप हिंदी में बोलिए, please.
मैं हिंदी में बोलूँगा, लेकिन मैं बता दूं, दो रिसर्चर जो हमारे पास हैं, namely Mr. Sree Iyer and Ramesh Swamy, who have done a lot of work on this Hindenburg report and other data, and Dr. Swamy. There's a different question. My first point is, just about 2 months back, in 177th episode of Words of Wisdom Gyan Ganga, on 20th November, we were discussing the 2024 elections and Modi's and how to counter their position and so on. And in that episode, I remember I made a remark that the kind of growth in the loans advanced to Adani's, the government of India should come clean and bring a white paper on that. This has been in discussion for several months now. My question is about Hindenburg report. Hindenburg report comes soon after BBC. Just before the 10 days back, we had an Oxfam report on inequality in India, and several points were identified that how government of India has failed in maintaining the equality in the country and income distribution in the country, and attacking basically the economics of Modi government. Adani was to raise capital, and he is going for FPO. So my first question is, do you think this Hindenburg report is a series in the planned attack on Modi government and also Adani in order to affect his capital raising plan through FPO? One is the timing of the report. Number one. Number two, everybody knows that the kind of, Dr. Swamy also said, the kind of growth Adani has shown in last 10 years. And
3 years.
Last 3 years.
10 years. Even 10 years back, he was not so much known in the country as an industrialist, except for some companies that he owned. But I've seen right from if we go for last 40 years, any businessman who suddenly came up and started taking over companies. I remember in 70s we had Chavadiyas, we had RP Goenka, we had, of course, Ambani's also, then RP Goenka, Tata's, Hinduja's, Sahara, you name a businessman or business group, and all these business groups have been accused of stock manipulation, number one. So Hindenburg report doesn't say much. Of course, it does not show the enough proofs. And as Ramesh said, the government of India should go in and investigate. So these accusations are not new, number one. Number two, I want to ask Dr. Swamy about what is the connection between Adani and Modi. Now, if there is no connection, why suddenly that BJP hardcore supporters have started accusing Hindenburg report, and by saying that
Yeah,
it is an attack on
exactly.
Modi and keeping 2024 in mind and all that? It's a international conspiracy. Do you think, Dr. Swamy, that this is part of an international conspiracy against Modi and not so much against Adani?
Okay.
Over to you, sir.
Over to me. Okay. See, listen. For a big country like India, international conspiracies against the prime minister is natural.
Right.
Question is whether you have given them an opening.
Hmm.
I would say that Narasimha Rao was there. There was never an international conspiracy against him because there was nothing to say against him. He lived a simple life. He died a simple man. To a great extent, although it was very short term, and Moraji Desai also, they could talk about his urine and things like that. But the fact is that nobody had anything against him. There was no targeting of Moraji Desai to bring him down, and so on. Mrs. Gandhi, of course, because she was pro-Soviet, the Americans are naturally keen to dislodge her, or at least weaken her, or whatever. So, therefore, this all this time of international conspiracies, this is all international conspiracy and so on. I think we must now get more positive and say, is there any substance in it at all?
Correct.
There's no doubt that in the last 3 years, he has gone 871 times or whatever percentage up in his profits. He has taken, the things that he has no connections with. He has bought left, right, and center. Just now, he has got a new port in Kerala, which the Kerala government was blocking, and I don't know what persuasion.
Birmingham Port.
Huh? Yes, that's
Birmingham
right.
Port.
And now, one of the reasons that Modi is hesitating declaring Ram Setu as a national heritage monument is that
Absolutely right, Dr. Swamy.
Adani wants to take the ships coming to his port to be allowed to take an easy access to the rest of, to the
coast.
Bay of Bengal and then to the eastern part of Asia. The eastern part of the world and western part, like Thailand and so on and so forth, Burma. So I think what we have to see is that has something gone on a proper procedure and according to merit. Nobody is willing to say that Adani has got anything by merit. There's nothing that he's got by merit. And he owes foreign countries, I think he owes the Chinese a lot of money. And that is a factor that we have to worry. Maybe that kind of influence is the reason why Koi Aaya Nahi, Modi said immediately. And today it's getting very embarrassing because the Ladakh, the state of Ladakh or the Union Territory of Ladakh, the DGP had a conference and he identified out of 60 posts, 26 or something have been taken over by the Chinese or not accessible to India anymore, which means the Chinese have taken it over. So I think we are considering these things, although we find all these outrages and therefore to some extent even funny. The fact is the country, India's, India's national security is implicated in this, that anybody can come here and do business. And Adani is not a Swadeshi man. He's got a lot of connections with foreign companies, a lot of connections with nations abroad, not necessarily friendly to India. So I'm looking at it from that broader picture. And I think that this has to be a public debate. And the Prime Minister, if he is not if he is not indebted to Mr. Adani, he should, on the basis of this report which the Americans have produced, whatever their motivation, he should set up a committee of people, people with some impeccable standing, and give them this thing and say, tell me whether this has any substance on which I have to take action, and take action. That is the way I think we can have a strong democracy. And nobody, neither the BBC or the Americans or anybody, can target target Modi, because targeting Nehru used to be used as a weapon to protect Nehru from all the fiascos, like what he did with China, just gave away our land. And today also we are having the same problem. It's being kept a secret. So that is the core issue, why we are going to the public. I mean, I can go and file a FIR against Adani any day. That's not a difficulty. I've done that in the past. I've done that with Sonia Gandhi and Rahul Gandhi on National Herald. Scams of this sort, you can easily do it. But the fact is that it involves for us, it's a matter of shame, because we came to power, the BJP came to power on the plank of fighting corruption and bringing back all illegal money abroad back to India and that sort of thing. And now we are finding that we ourselves are promoting it, or apparently promoting it. So that rot has to be stopped before the next elections come. Otherwise, the public is not a very forgiving public if they find you have been betrayed. That's the sum total of why I'm interested in this matter.
बिफोर रमेश और श्री अय्यर आंसर, एक सवाल मैं आप दोनों से पूछना चाहता हूं. आप दोनों यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका में हैं. हिंडनबर्ग की रिपोर्ट वहां से आई है. क्या
दोनों माने रमेश और श्री
अय्यर. हिंडनबर्ग जो एजेंसी है और जो इनके जो कर्ता धर्ता है, और कहा जाता है कि बहुत छोटी सी कंपनी है, और वो कह रहे हैं कि 2 साल उनको लगे इतने अनुसंधान करने में, इतना रिसर्च करने में 2 साल लगे. मुझे नहीं लगता कि इतनी ऐसी जो रिसर्च रिपोर्ट 100 पेज की रिपोर्ट है उसके लिए 2 साल लगने चाहिए, अलग बात है. लेकिन इज देयर एनी मोटिव behind this Hindenburg report? Can you also investigate into this?
Arvindji, quickly, let me just jump in. Sree, you can join. Why are we worried about the motive?
Okay.
One. Okay. Second, this is only about Adani. So why are we stretching this, saying that it's an attack on India? I don't buy that theory, because see, this is again buying into.
No, Ramesh, let me stop you. Let me stop you. Why I said this is that BJP Andhbhaks and Gandhbhaks, they have started attacking all sorts of people, saying that this attack is on not Adani, this attack is on Modi.
That's exactly my point. It is stupidity to say that, because it is an attack on one company. We cannot equate. Why are we digging our own grave? BJP and supporters should not be digging the grave. Why should Modi jump into it? I mean, it is ridiculous to say that it is an attack on Modi. It is an attack. So what are you implying, BJP people, when you're saying attacking Adani is attacking Modi? That Modi is, you're implicating Modi there. Don't do that. I mean, this is an attack on a company, number one. Two, you said, the company is small. They've spent 2 years to do the research. Yeah, the company is small. They made sure that they dotted all the I's and crossed all the T's. Whether it is right or wrong, you go to court and try to prove it. Well, he goes to the US court, discovery. He just stripped down to his undies. Let me tell you, let them try suing in America. I am telling you, he has no clue what it means by discovery. Dr. Swamy is an expert on it. So I can tell you, let him go try suing in America. It'll be fun. I mean, I can tell you, he probably has to start another company, or probably start another legal company for this fact. But it's just not going to fly, because those guys are going to say, based on these research, okay, if you want additional material, please open up all your books. We're going to come in, go into each and every entity of yours. I don't think Adani is that stupid. He has been in and out of DRA scanner, so he is a very seasoned, quote unquote, businessman. So let's just not. I don't think it's going to happen. let's not attack the report. The facts are facts. Let Adani reply one by one saying why he's wrong, or prove in the market. Right at the end of the day, how are you going to prove that wrong? Show in the market that you can do better than, and prove the Hindenburg report wrong. But the point, Arvindji, one thing I can take from what you said, the Hindenburg report has exposed the biggest chinks in the armor as far as the Indian funding system, because Dr. Swamy has been raising these objections multiple times. We've done so many shows on Words of Wisdom about the NPA, I mean, about the participatory notes, the illegal
Keynotes, yes.
funding,
Yeah.
and the recent case that Dr. Swamy has against the RBI. Why are the NPA secret? It is just unfathomable for me. It's public money, people money. Why should that NPA data be secret?
Yeah.
So I think Dr. Swamy has a case in the RBI. All this, it is probably, this report is in a way good for India to clean up the system, as Dr. Swamy said in his introduction. Use this as a tool to clean up a lot of these things that are going on. Sree, thank you. Go, please. Your take.
धन्यवाद रमेश जी। अरविंद जी, मेरा सिर्फ ये कहना है कि अगर आप समझते हैं, यानी कि अदानी ग्रुप के लोग समझते हैं कि इसमें झूठ है, तो अवश्य आप यूएस में आकर लड़ सकते हैं। लेकिन इसकी एक डेंजर है, जब यूएस कोर्ट में जब आपको डेफेमेशन सूट लगाएंगे तो डिस्कवरी प्रोसेस होती है, जहां पर हिंडनबर्ग वाले पूछेंगे हर चीज, आपने कहां से ये लाए, ये कहां से लाए, इसका क्या प्रॉपर प्रोसीजर था। तो इस प्रोसीजर के लफड़े में, इसमें अटक कर चक्रव्यूह में ये फंस जाएंगे और पूरा महाभारत बाहर आएगा। किस तरह से यहां से लेकर वहां डाला, वहां से लेकर और कहीं डाला, इस तरह की एक प्रॉपर जो होती है, यानी कि एक कंपनी की शेयर बढ़ाना हो तो दूसरे ग्रुप कंपनी को इस कंपनी के शेयर्स को खरीदें तो ये जरा ऊपर जाता है, तो तब इसको बोलते हैं हाँ ये ठीक है, ये ठीक है। तो ये जब एवरी टाइम एक कंपनी की शेयर उभरती है तो लोग क्या समझते हैं, हाँ इसमें कुछ दम है तो मैं थोड़ा पैसा लाता हूं। तो इसमें क्या होता है, एक तरह का एक माहौल बनता है कि अदानी के कोई एक अदानी पावर अच्छी है तो रिटेल इन्वेस्टर्स भी उसके अंदर कूद पड़ते हैं। लेकिन जब अंदर सब खोखा है तो तब सबको मालूम पता चलेगा कि जो प्रोवर्बियल एक्सप्रेशन है ना, द एम्पायर इज नॉट वेयरिंग एनी क्लोथ्स, यहाँ का यही होता है। तो मेरे अनुसार ये अदानी जो कह रहे हैं, उनके सीएफओ जो ने एक स्टेटमेंट दिया है कि हम सू करेंगे यूएस में, ये सिर्फ बंडलबाजी है। तो ये नहीं कर सकते, ये करेंगे तो और ज्यादा इनका नुकसान होगा। और मैं
एक और चीज जोड़ देता हूँ आपको कि ऐसा वो केस डालेंगे डेफेमेशन का, तो उसमें ज्यूरी सिस्टम होती है, तो ज्यूरी डिसाइड करती है। तो सारे अमेरिकन बैठे होते हैं। जब मोरारजी देसाई ने फाइल की थी अमेरिका में, इसने कहा कि ये CIA एजेंट है। मोरारजी देसाई को कोई इस पर विश्वास नहीं करता, ये थर्ड रेट जर्नलिस्ट है, काई को आप नहीं मैं उनको एक सबक सिखा लो। They went to America and filed it, and in the jury, the jury said, "What is wrong in being a CIA agent? How is that a defamation for you?"
हाँ, तो मैं एक और बात मैं जरा हमारे दर्शकों को कहना चाहता हूँ। ये जो पोर्ट की कहानी चल रही है, विरिंजम पोर्ट, इसके बारे में दो शब्द मैं कहना चाहूंगा। देखिए, ये विरिंजम पोर्ट अगर वो बनती है, अभी तो उसके सामने काफी रुकावट डाले गए हैं, चर्च कर रही है और बाकी जो एलिमेंट्स हैं। देखिए, ये CPIM गवर्नमेंट को ना सिर्फ हड़ताल करने आता है, इनको कोई एक अच्छा चीज करने में ऑलवेज थोड़ी सी मुश्किलात होती है। तो विरिंजम पोर्ट जो है, अगर वो बनेगा भी तो वहां से इंटरनेशनल शिपिंग लेन कुछ 11 या 12 किलोमीटर दूर है। जब गुड्स आते हैं ना, तो कई ऐसे कंटेनर होते हैं जो कि अंदर नहीं आ सकते, तो इसके लिए आपको ये 11-12 किलोमीटर के लिए आपको ड्रेजिंग करना पड़ेगा डीप सी, ताकि वो आए पोर्ट के अंदर। अगर वही चीज आप कोलंबो के पोर्ट में देखते हैं तो वहां पर सिर्फ 1 किलोमीटर की दूरी है इंटरनेशनल शिपिंग लेन। तो जो काम जो बनता है कम बनता है। तो मैं ये क्यों कह रहा हूं, ये सब राम सेतु के बारे में अगर आप पढ़ेंगे आजकल, तो नितिन गडकरी जी का भी एक स्टेटमेंट आया था कि हम एक रोड ब्रिज बनाएंगे जो कि राम सेतु के बगल में जाएगा, लेकिन वो इसको डिस्टर्ब नहीं करेगा। ये कॉन्सेप्ट इसीलिए दोहराया गया क्योंकि भारत ने अब तक 90,000 करोड़ रुपए श्रीलंका को शोर अप करने के लिए दिए हैं। इस इन्वेस्टमेंट को अगर भारत रिटर्न करना चाहेगा तो उसके लिए एक 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 एवेन्यू है, वो है कि एक रोड ब्रिज डाल दे, मल्टी लेन बोथ वेज, ताकि कॉमर्स जो है 55 किलोमीटर से दूरी, ज्यादा नहीं है, और अगर वो ऐसा डालेंगे ताकि वो जाफना के पास यानी कि नॉर्दर्न टिप के पास जाकर पहुंचेगा भारत से, तो वहां की जो इकोनॉमी है वो सबसे डिप्रेस्ड है, सबसे डिप्रेस्ड है। क्योंकि वो जो वहां पे जो एलटीटी की वॉर चलती थी, उनको तो रहने के कपड़े भी नहीं है। तो अभी एक और चीज माना जाता है कि जहां वो श्रीलंकन तमिल जो है उस आधा से ज्यादा बाहर निकल चुके हैं, बट ये अगर ऐसा करेंगे भारत तो शायद इससे कुछ उनके लिए भी कुछ भलाई होगा। लेकिन इन सब चीजों में अदानी का कुछ रूपरेखा नहीं है। वो एक ब्रिज होगा, वो ब्रिज को जो भी अच्छा बिड करता है उसको दें प्रोजेक्ट। सो इसमें इन टर्म्स ऑफ रिलेटिव एफिशिएंसी कोलंबो का पोर्ट शायद इससे अच्छा है, लेकिन इसमें भी वही प्रॉब्लम होगा जो डॉक्टर स्वामी ने जिक्र किया था कि कोलंबो से कहां जब वो रोड ब्रिज जो बनती है वहां तक पहुंचेंगे कैसे। तो उसके लिए दो रास्ते हैं। टीयर ड्रॉप आइलैंड है, या तो आप बाहर से जा सकते हैं या तो अंदर से जा सकते हैं। अंदर से जाने में प्रॉब्लम क्या है, राम सेतु को तोड़ना पड़ेगा, वो बिल्कुल नामुमकिन है। नॉट बिकॉज इट इज राम सेतु, नॉट बिकॉज इट इज ओनली राम सेतु। इसका एक और प्रॉब्लम है, वहां की जो डेप्थ है ओशन की, सिर्फ 10 या 15 मीटर का डेप्थ है। वो पाक बे कहते हैं उसको। आप नीचे देखेंगे तो आप देख सकते हैं, जमीन दिखती है आपको, तो समुद्र के। तो जब भी अगर आप ड्रेड्ज भी करेंगे ना, तो रोज रोज आपको मिट्टी निकालना पड़ेगा, रोज रोज निकालना पड़ेगा, और इससे क्या होता है कि इकोलॉजिकल डिस्ट्रक्शन बहुत ज्यादा बन जाएगी। तो ये तो छोटे छोटे चीज हैं जो बात करने हैं। और आप लोग पूछ सकते हैं क्यों हमको पड़ी है कि अब एक इंटरनेशनल पोर्ट चाहिए, यानी क्यों विरिंजम या कोलंबो, इसकी क्या जरूरत है। मैं इसकी जरूरत कहता हूं, आपको अगर प्राय शायद हमारे दर्शकों को यह पता नहीं है, जब भी भारत क्रूड खरीदती है तो ये क्रूड कहां से आता है पता है? सिंगापुर से आता है, क्योंकि सिंगापुर में स्टोरेज फैसिलिटीज हैं जो कि भारत में नहीं है। तो जब इस हर चीज के लिए सिंगापुर को जाकर भारत को एक टैक्स भरना पड़ता है। इसके अलावा इंस्टेड ऑफ सिंगापुर क्यों ना या तो त्रिकोणामलई में कर सकते हैं जो कि ऊपर साइड पे है, या कोलंबो में एक पोर्ट बना सकते हैं जहां पर आप स्टोरेज फैसिलिटीज के साथ एक पोर्ट बना सकते हैं। देन भारत को ये सिंगापुर को जाने की जरूरत नहीं होगी। और डॉक्टर स्वामी, जहां तक हम सोचते हैं कि श्रीलंका चाइना के जेब में बैठ चुका है, वही हाल सिंगापुर का भी है सर जी। तो ये यहाँ थोड़े से अलग चीज है। तो लेट अस कीप द राम सेतु असाइड फॉर अ मोमेंट। बट अदानी के, जहां तक अदानी का सवाल है, इसमें आपको यही देखना है कि इसके ये केस में, इसके एलिगेशन, इस रिपोर्ट में क्या दम है। और ये मेरा जितना भी रिसर्च हुआ है, ये सब सच है, और ये जो किया गया है ये हुआ है। अब इससे बाहर कैसे निकलेंगे, ये सिर्फ गौतम अदानी जाने और उनके भाई जाने।
एक स्पष्टीकरण करना है। आज की परिस्थिति में श्रीलंका की जो चाइना का झुकाव है बहुत बहुत दुर्बल हो गया है, कम हो गया है, क्योंकि इस बार मैं कहूँगा कि मेरी बात सुनकर किया तो लोग ईर्ष्या में डूब जाएंगे। तो मैं कहता हूँ कि इस बार सरकार ने 90,000 करोड़ रुपए की मदद की है, और उसमें कोई कंडीशन कुछ नहीं किया। और ये जो लोग हमारे एक्सटर्नल अफेयर्स मिनिस्टर वाले जाकर वहाँ अंग्रेज़ों के राज में जो होता था यानी दबाव, वो सब कुछ होना नहीं, बिल्कुल सीधी दी गई। उससे इतना असर पड़ा है कि आज के माहौल में श्रीलंका बहुत प्रो इंडियन हो गए है। इसको जारी रखना है, आगे बढ़ाना है। So we must conclude now. It's 9 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah,
One last question. Dr. Swamy. At the end of the day, if I think they'll be able to come out, but at the end of the day, exposure is pretty high. I hope the government doesn't intervene and do a bailout. I think that will be a huge impact. I think it's best that the government doesn't intervene in the event something goes wrong. The government should not intervene and do a bailout. I don't think the banks, because the exposure is pretty high, Dr. Swamy. I think the banks or the PSUs that have invested a lot to be wary going forward. Let's just wait out, because Hindenburg, at the end of the day, the short company, they have openly disclosed that they shorted Adani because they feel so many irregularities. The stock valuation is way too high. They've shorted the company. They're going to, if they've already fallen so much, tomorrow when the market opens, we would know how much money they made. Obviously, they are in this thing for making money, but it doesn't mean that they're wrong. I mean, at the end of the day, facts are facts, and they say that based on our facts, this company is not worth what it is. So with this, Arvindji, you can conclude.
No, but I will say
Yes.
this is catch 22 for Narendra Modi.
Okay.
You know what catch 22 is?
Yeah. He can neither let go nor can he avoid it. So, it is going to be...
He's damned if he does and he's damned if he's not.
Damned if he doesn't. Yeah. Sure, Dr. Swamy.
Yeah, but Dr. Swamy, at the end, Narendra Modi should also clarify what his relations are or what his party's relations are with Adani. I mean, at least for the public's sake, 50% of the people who are not BJP supporters are questioning this relationship. Hindenburg is only one incident, but people are questioning this relationship.
There's a
amazing, Dr.
Frank Sinatra song, "Ask me no questions, I'll tell you no lies."
Oh, it's a good point for Adani to defend himself in court. But Dr. Swamy, a lot of people, I mean, the support. I'm amazed by a lot of people saying that, oh, I'm not going to allow Hindenburg report to be, true. So I'm going to support Adani. You know what? There is a very famous saying: "Fools and their money are easily separated." Arvindji, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. But let me just conclude and say one thing. Whatever be the truth in Hindenburg report and other accusations which have come to Adani's, they must answer these questions. Some 88 odd questions have been asked in this report, and none of these questions have been answered in last 3 days. Whatever reply has been given, that reply is only to threaten people who have been supporting Hindenburg report or the company itself, but none of these 88 questions have been answered. Therefore, the onus lies on Adani's. All the questions which have been asked must be answered. And as I said and suggested, that even Modi should clarify, Narendra Modi should also clarify that they have not been favoring out of the way one group or the other. And therefore, there is no such thing like supporting a particular group, even if they are from Gujarat. Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for initiating this subject. And our two great researchers based in US who have done work. And the slides that we shown in this program, many of the comments that I saw, they were also appreciating that some information has been available from this source, which was not discussed in the media. And in the background, we have Swaminathan, who had also supported these two gentlemen, Sree Iyer and Ramesh Swamy. Thank you very much for that. And as far as LIC is concerned, let me tell you, when LIC went public, the share was offered at 920 rupees. And today, the share of LIC is at 600 rupees. And I'm sure after this report, it will go further down. So who is the loser? Indian investor is the loser. In last few days, the stock market has been suffering because of this report. The prices across the board have been going down, and of course, Adani companies they have suffered. They are the worst sufferers. But ultimately, the money belongs to Indian investors, and therefore, any attempt to destabilize Indian stock market or Indian economy should be resisted. Thank you, Sree Iyer ji. Thank you, Ramesh Swamy. Thanks the technical team led by Ashish Chetty, Gadgi Rakesh, Iyer Ramesh, Swaminathan, Tejas Navalgul, and Vishal Mehta, and Najesh Nair. We will be meeting again next Sunday, 8 p.m. with Dr. Subramanian Swamy in the next episode of Words of Wisdom, Gyan Ganga. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.